Hello and welcome to Quilt Addicts Anonymous. I'm Stephanie Soebbing. So we're going to do a everything I made in 2022 roundup. Now we collectively as Quilt Addicts Anonymous have made much more than this because we have a large team here and we all pitch in to help when needed. But these are things that I personally have made both for work and for my own personal creative enjoyment. So I'm going to share this with you guys today in not any particular order. I think I'm going to do a mix of things that you haven't seen because I've done them for me, mixed in with things that maybe you have seen before. If we have a pattern to go with it, if we still have fabric to go with it, we're going to list out what it is in the video description below. So all the links are going to be available in there. It's going to be way too many things to put in carts. We're limited to 5, and I think I counted up like 44 things that I made this year. So that's almost one a week. I feel like that's really good. And obviously, you know, part of it is my job. I have to do these things for work so that you guys can be inspired and hopefully get the supplies you need from us. But a lot of it too are things that I do in my spare time. And so I think actually that'll be a good segue to the first project. So I made a lot of sweaters this year. This is one of them. I can't remember the name of this one. It was a petite knit pattern, and I will link to that down below. I've made several of her sweaters. They're really easy to follow. The translations are really well. And this one I did with super chunky wool, and I was able to get it from my local bookstore. They also stock yarn, the Artsy Bookworm in Rock Island, Illinois. They're real close to where our original shop location was, so I have purchased a little bit of yarn from them. I often will knit when I'm waiting around for my kids' dance class, coding class, basketball, gymnastics, all the things where, you know, you just have a minute here or there. So I always have my tourist out with me, and it has whatever my latest knitting project is and the instructions so that if I have a minute, I can do a little bit of knitting. So this is one of my sweaters that I finished this year. It is super cozy and warm. I finished it right before like a big dip in the temperature, and it's fabulous. I cannot fit my coat over it because it's so large, but it's super warm and cozy. All right, let's follow that up with one more that you haven't seen yet, but you will soon. If you follow us on Instagram, you may have seen this. So we have a onesie t-shirt quilt that I'm contributing to a book that my publisher is putting out next spring, all about t-shirt quilts, how to do them, how to make them. And there's going to be, I think, about a dozen different patterns in there. They all look really awesome, and they're great because it's a really good beginner skill level. But what I did for mine is I agreed to contribute as long as I could do it using my kids' onesies that I'd saved over the years. So I designed a log cabin block where the size of your center block is determined by the size of your t-shirt motif. So it ranges from 3 inches finish to 9 inches. So it works from your itty bitty stuff from when they came home as newborns all the way up to 2T. I saved way too many things and included 99 garments in mine, and it's huge and I love it. And I was able to put like the little frilly skirts, so like they're 3D popping out of them. And I cannot wait to share more about that with you when the book comes out this spring. We'll have copies available then. Let's go to my favorite bag project of the year. That is the Everly backpack. This was one that was on my bucket list for years. I think I initially cut the fabric when I was pregnant with my daughter, and she is almost 3 years old now. And it's in my favorite colors ever, with the teals and the chartreuse green. And so when this came out, usually what happens is all of our fabric or our samples end up on a sample wall, and they go out at Christmas time to members of our team and like a white elephant gift that you actually want to receive. But this one I stole immediately for me. So I love this one, and I've been using it, and I'm very, very excited to be using this bag around town. All right, let's go to my favorite Stash 'em with Stephanie quilt of the year, and I think that has to be Interlocking Triangles. This one was so fun to make and plan. It's super bright, and it was inspired by a children's book that my daughter absolutely loves on Frank Lloyd Wright shapes. And I just love how it all came together and the brightness of it all. It's simple, but you also have to think a little bit about your fabric placement, so I just love how that turned out. Another favorite of mine this year was a personal project, and that is my daughter's baptism gown. We originally wanted to wait to baptize her because, you know, there were no vaccines for COVID and she wasn't actually able to wear a mask. So we finally got to do it this year, right before my pastor was elected as bishop. And so I had to like hurry up and get it done. And of course, the baptism gown I made for my older daughter didn't fit anymore. And since she was like 2.5 and had a personality, I did purple, her favorite color, over white bridal satin, and I bought the fabric at Vogue Fabrics in Chicago and spent way more than I should have on it and sewed everything with silk thread. It was just so much fun, and she still regularly asks to wear her purple dress. Let's go back to another stash and favorite, and that is Burst Revisited. So I revamped one of our old block of the months that was really popular so that it would be fat quarter friendly. And I either really love a really bright fabric or a very tranquil fabric. And that was what Burst Revisited was. It was just very calming, and it looked really gorgeous in that star pattern. It just was so much fun to make. Another project that was really an honor to do was working on my mom's very first bed quilt. I quilted it for her. That was my Mother's Day gift to her, was quilting, batting, and backing for her very first quilt. And I chose the Interlocking Eldorado for that because it is a really easy beginner feather stencil, and it just looks fabulous. I've used this so many times and it looked really good, and she's really proud of how it all turned out, as she should be. All right, back to my sweaters. So I actually haven't finished this yet, but I think I'm going to finish it tonight because I just have to sew in one more sleeve and then put the do the collar for it. And it's another like super chunky knit that I got from the Artsy Bookworm in Rock Island, Illinois. And it's like my favorite color ever. And it's going to be super warm, especially with all these cold breezes that we have had coming through. It's just been so cold. It was really fun to knit. And because the yard is so large and the needles are so large, I got this one done in about a month. Let's go back to Stashing with Stephanie, our subscription club. So I put out a new pattern every single month that's fat quarter friendly as part of this. So there's a lot of them. Blooming Star was one of my favorites for this year. I love a good 60-degree triangle or diamond. I love it even more what's in a star shape, and so do you guys. This one is great for showing off really big prints, and it just looked absolutely fabulous, and you guys really loved it too. Another staff favorite and one of you guys was the Trio Zip Pouches. Now, I only made one of these, and I did it on camera for you guys, but our team made a lot. I think we made 18 over the course of the year, and they're so fun and so fabulous, and I think we maybe sold out again. We may need to make another set of them because you guys just love them so much. That little whole nesting thing, I just love a good bag, and I love one that's really easy to store as well because I have very limited space in my 1950s home. So anytime I can like nest those together, and it's just a perfect way to show off your fabrics and coordinate them beautifully. Another one of my favorite projects from this year was the Ornament Mug Rugs. So this was a new pattern that I designed. I made the mug rugs on camera for you guys, but I think I also am going to do this as a whole quilt using some Rifle Paper Company holiday fabric that I've been saving for a little bit because I think it would be perfect in this one. I love how the ornament collection just kind of like shows off your favorite fabrics, and you can fussy cut it, and you know, I'm not super concerned about things being perfect and using the correct amount of everything. I want them to really show off like the little bits that I really love about the fabric. So I'm going to have a lot of fun doing this one again, but I really enjoy doing it as a mug rug set as well. Another really fun stash and quilt for me was Herringbone Revisited. This was another pattern that was in my first book, Simple Quilts for the Modern Home. It was not fat quarter friendly, and I revamped it and changed the sizing a little bit so that it would work for fat quarters. And the original was in a really calming shell Rummel print, and the new one is bright and bold and funky, and I love it. I think it's absolutely fabulous, and it looks so pretty in this new revamped version. We also have a partnership with Jaftex, which owns Free Spirit, Blank, Studio E, and Henry Glass. And so we do video tutorials for their SIY Sew It Yourself program, and we are continuing that into next year. So one of the projects that you haven't seen yet that I just finished filming for is a simple skirt. It uses 2 fat quarters to sew just a super simple skirt for kids. And you can adjust the sizing a little bit if you want to make it work for you or maybe a bigger kid. But I was able to bring my daughter to the Botanical Center and photograph this with their holiday light display on. It made the pictures so magical. And I was definitely making cheap noises and saying elephant farts in order to get this fun laugh. All right, let's move on to a mother-daughter sewing project. So my daughter is learning to sew, my older daughter, Angela. We made matching heart dresses, both for her and her sister. I didn't love the pattern because I feel like it didn't fit super well. Like that neckline is really large on them, but it is super adorable and it's really cute to see them dressed up the same way. And my older daughter did the majority of the sewing on hers, and I did a lot of the cutting, and I did all the sewing on my younger daughter's dress. Let's go to Afternoon Picnic. I think this one did not get the love that it deserved when it came out. It was really fun to do. I think maybe people were intimidating because it was a lot of half square triangles, but I love how this one kind of grouped your colors, so that way it was a really easy way to be able to make it really scrappy. So this would be a really fun one to do if you've got a stash you're trying to bust. Another project you guys really enjoyed was the biggest series we've done to date, and that is our Quilt As You Go free motion quilting course. We had, I think it was like 28 videos in that course, and we took 4 basic quilting stencils so you could get the basics down of 4 different stitches, and then took you through some variations that you could do once you got that basic stitch down using a stencil. And it was so fun, and it was so fun to see what you guys were creating at home. And it was just, I'm really glad whenever we can come up with something that you guys really enjoy doing and helps you move into a better quilter. And for this one, I quilted every single one of these. I did not sew together the ones that we did on the long arm. Our team did that, but I quilted all of them, and then I did every single stitch on the one that we did for the domestic sewing machine on camera. All right, let's go to another bag. The Central Park Sling from So Many Creations was really a fun one to do. It was really fun to place those fabrics of Tulip Pink, and my daughter absolutely loved this one with the butterflies, so I claimed it as my own because I'm the one who made it, and so I claimed that privilege, and she took it all around with her when we were in Chicago for a family vacation. It was great because we were able to cinch that strap up short enough to where it worked for a child, and it's one of her favorite bags. It fits a book, her glasses, her phone, all the things that she needs. Zigzag was another fun stash with Stephanie quilt that I did, and I think this one we still have some kits for. It uses Love Struck by Paintbrush Studios, and I really am challenged each month to design using the fabric that we have. So this one had a lot of really light value prints in it, but I wanted to make sure that we were able to separate that clearly from the background. So I designed the block so that the lightest prints would be in the center, followed by medium, and then dark prints at the very end. And it was really a fun one to do, and I really love how it turned out. All right, we're going to talk about my final sweater because this one was the one that took the longest. So this was not chunky yarn. I think this one was either a DK or a worsted weight. And I used hand-dyed yarn from Shirsty Cat, and it's just so neutral and so fun. And this was the first sweater I made that I felt like really fit me very well. And so that was very exciting. And I actually finished it while I was sick at home with COVID. So I think the picture of me is sick with COVID in my bathroom that thankfully I just finished doing after 10 months of remodeling right before this all finished. So maybe we can add that in as an honorable mention. Stephanie finished redoing her bathroom. So all the things. Let's go to another mother-daughter project. So this year, my daughter designed her first quilt that is the Unicorn Love, using the collection by the same name from Clothworks. And she designed it, and then by the time we made it, she was pretty much over unicorns and on to Harry Potter and Pokemon, which is fine. Kids' interest changed. So we still made it, and she did almost all the sewing, but I helped out with a few. Like I did all the cutting and I quilted it, but she sewed almost all of it together. But I did a really fun double loop meander, and this is going to be my niece's Christmas present. I feel like I needed to have ranked Subway higher up in the like favorite stash and quilts of the year. This is one where the fabric was really speaking to me and it wanted to be like in a very graphic situation. So we did a lot of strip piecing in order to make that work and have it look absolutely fantastic and sort of live its best life out there. And I love how it just lets each fabric shine all on its own, but really moves your eye around the quilt very well. So this one was a really fun one to do. You could use neutrals like we did, or I think this would look really good too in brights like Cape or something. I think it would be fantastic. Let's go to another one you guys haven't seen, and that is the SIY nesting baskets. So this is one that we made, and it was over the summer, and we had so many people out that I knew that I had to make all 4 of the baskets myself. So it was really fun to do. I think they turned out fabulous, and we'll be bringing this tutorial to you guys soon. Another really fun personal project for me this year was Easter dresses for my girls. I tried to do them in a week. I did get both Easter dresses done. I don't think I have pictures of Lily and hers because I think she was sick on Easter. So I just have a picture of me with my older daughter and her jacket on. And that's as good as we got, but there is a matching dress for my toddler as well. I very much regret sewing with the linen. I think my daughter picked it out during a mother-daughter trip out to Vogue Fabrics in Chicago. And the color is gorgeous, but man, does that wrinkle and look bad really fast. But it was really fun to sew with the brocade fabric as well, although I did have to be careful about the lining because it is itchy, but it looks super pretty. Scatter is our latest Stash 'em with Stephanie quilt. You can actually see it right here, and there probably are still some kits and fabric available for that. This one was a really fun one design because it has a very offset look to it, and the repeat is very large. So it doesn't look like there's any rhyme or reason to where things are laid out, but there is. And I just really liked how it both showed off the fabric, and this one was a labor of love to quilt, but it was a lot of fun to do it, and I love how it turned out. The Ellie handbag was also really fun for me to make because I made it out of my fabric Nocturne with QT fabrics. We do have a little bit of that left, and I do think we still have some kits available of this as well. And it's just always fun when you have a personal investment in the project, and in this case it was a big one because it was my fabric. Actually, now that I think of it, I made both versions of the Ellie. I made the Nocturne one and I made the cotton and steel one. So this one was really, it was a lot of work to do it all. Another project that you guys enjoyed a lot as well too was the Jacquarda Quilt As You Go placemats from June Taylor. They were so fun and so versatile because you can use 2.5 strips and this pre-printed Quilt As You Go batting to create really fun placemats. And I did the original one. I think I just did one on camera. I think everybody else did the rest of them, and I just did one. So I will not claim all of them, but I did make one, and it was really fun to do. Another course that was really fun to do because I had like some personal items in it was the t-shirt quilt. So this was the very first series that we ever did when I started a YouTube channel, like not knowing at all what I was doing or what it would become. And it was filmed on a cell phone camera in like one take in my living room. And so it was time to upgrade that. And so we came out with a newer version of the pattern and really took you through all the steps you need in high def and had it ready for you guys who could finish in time to do graduation quilts. So that was really fun to do. So if you're interested in the onesie t-shirt quilt, I would maybe go through this course first, so that way you have all the tips and tricks you need in order to make it work. But we will have a video when the onesie quilt comes out. And I got to make my version of it out of all of my t-shirts that I've collected over the years, going to different vacation spots with my family and husband. So, and then some work stuff too for quilting trips. So it was really fun to do. All right, so this project was very emotional for me. When my grandparents' house was cleaned out, they both passed away last year. My request was for all of my grandma's sweaters. And so this year for Christmas, I turned all of them into mittens for every female member of the family. So I made adult size for everyone, so that way, you know, when the kids grow up, they're going to have a little piece of their great grandma too. And it was really like, because I could remember her wearing those at different events, and then it was just, I don't know, I had a lot of feelings the day I was cutting them up to go into Mittens, and I know that my cousins and aunts and mom really appreciated it, and we really enjoyed that gift. So I'm glad to be able to wear mine and have a little piece of her with me always. I'm going to combine these next 3, maybe 4 into one. So about this fall, I started telling my husband, because our lives are so very scheduled, that on Sunday afternoons when my younger daughter takes a nap, I'm going to drive to our business and I'm going to sew personal projects, not work projects. So I've been doing that, and it's reminded me of the reason why I started all this in the first place. So I've been making doll dresses for my kids. And it's been really fun to do because there aren't that many clothes out there for Bitty Baby, and a lot of them are like fuddy-duddy. So I made her 2 outfits for her baby for Christmas, and I made my older daughter one for her American Girl doll. And that one was especially fun because I've been taking a course on Pixie Fairy on how to design doll dresses. So that was really fun to do. And I particularly enjoyed doing these because I'm not as adept of a garment sewer as I am a quilter. And so it's fun because I don't always know how it's going to turn out. And so it was fun for me to have a little bit of a challenge there. All right, let's get back to a stashing with Stephanie quilt, Galactic, and this one was fun to do. I love a good star quilt. We're at the point where when I do a new one, I've got to Google different star names because I'm out of ideas. And so this one, Galactic, was fun because it was a bunch of different stars, and I had a lot of fun with it. We also did the Trendsetter Zip Top Tote. This is one that I also really loved and absolutely stole for myself this year, so that one was fun to do. All right, we're getting pretty close to the end of my list. Next up, we're going to look at Seeing Stars. This was one of our Stashing with Stephanie fat quarter friendly patterns. I love a combo of stars and log cabins, and this one was really fun because we didn't have a plain white background. We used more of a medium tone scale to do it. So it was really fun to separate everything according to that, and I love how those stars just popped. So this year we did a garment series on making a skirt for the first time, and I actually didn't make any of those, but I did make a school skirt for my daughter. She is very slim, and so to find something that fits her perfectly in the waist and is long enough for the school uniform rules is really challenging. So I bought a clapper, and I had a lot of fun putting in all of these knife pleats into her skirt. It looks super cute and it fits her perfectly, and the length is just right, and I just love how this one turned out. We did one other SIY project this year, and that was the apron. And it was such a fun apron. It was a really fancy one with lots of little details that make it really an heirloom project. And I did one that our shipper called the Ultimate Hostess Gift with how fancy it was with this dark forest fabric, and it was super cute. The pattern is free on our website. All right, we've got another knitting project. This one I did for my daughter, Lily. I actually did this after I finished my gray sweater, and I thought I needed like a break project, and this one ended up taking me like all summer and most of the fall to complete because the yarn was so thin. I ended up using 2 yarns wound together, and I just love how this turned out. It's like a little fuzzy, a little bit with a little bit of sparkle, and it's her favorite color, purple, so she absolutely loves it. Vintage Revisited was one of our Stashing with Stephanie quilts this year. I was inspired by the hexagon shapes of the 1930s where they're put together in a diamond format, but I wanted to do it in a way that could be replicated quickly with strip piecing, so that's how we ended up with Vintage Revisited. This was the first personal project that I did of the year, and it was a coat for my daughter, Lily. This is some boussole that I had in my stash for a really long time, and I made it too big for her at the time so that it hopefully would fit this year. It's still a little big, so I think we're going to be able to use it next year too. She thinks it's awesome, and she can just spin around in it. Hugs All Around is a Stashin' with Stephanie quilt that we created using some cotton and steel. This one was a very traditionally like screen printed line in that they had 5 prints in 3 different colorways, and that's how they made it work. So I made sure to come up with a design that utilized all of that by using the lightest prints, a scrappy background, and then progressively starting with lighter value in the center and then moving out to the darkest values at the outside so we can have a clearly defined block. By the way, if you like all these Stashin' with Stephanie patterns, if you join the club, not only will you get fat quarters every month in the mail, but you also are going to get access to all of these fat quarter friendly patterns and a whole lot more. So you can click on the link below in our description to learn more about that and start saving and busting that stash today. So the last project that we're going to feature in the Things I Made in 2020 video is Ladies Chain that I remade in Shell Rummel. I love to make something in every single one of Shell Rummel's lines. I just love her as a designer. The tranquilness is just calming to me. And so I had a really fun time remaking this in her latest release. Wait, I forgot one, and it was a really cool one. So my daughter wanted to make this princess dress because we found this like floral tulle thing. It was super cool. So I don't remember what we were at Joann's for. It wasn't that, but we found that and we got on a side quest and we made this dress. Mostly I made that dress, but she loves it and she wears it any chance she gets. Well, thank you all for following along for this whole year's worth of makes. It was so much fun bringing them along with you guys. Next year, I hope to have a lot more personal makes. I did not have that many because I spend so much time sewing for like work-related tasks. Obviously, there's a lot of knitting because I don't sit still very well. So if I'm going to be sitting around for a while, my kids are doing something, I need something to keep my hands busy if I don't have work I still need to do from the day. And so there's a lot of that. But I think I'm going to move on to socks because I'm running out of space in my drawers for all the sweaters, especially with the chunky yarn. It takes up a lot of room. And I have 4 now. I think that's a pretty good amount to cycle through. But I only have 1 pair of knitted socks that I did several years ago. So 2023 is going to be the year of knitting socks for me. But as far as doing stuff for and with my kids, I want to do a lot more of that. My daughter's super interested in learning to sew still, and she's doing a ton of things and is interested in learning to do clothes for dolls and for herself. And I want to do a lot of doll clothes for my kids. I think that's going to be fun. Also, I want to do another one of those heartwarming projects where for next year for Christmas, I want to be able to gift all of the guys in the family pillows made from my grandfather's sweatshirts and sweaters. So that's on the to-do list for next year. Maybe this will be the year that I finally finish the New York Beauty. I don't know. We'll see. But I've got a few other to-dos that I would like to have on my get off my UFO list or my to-do list. So we'll see. We'll see. But I told my husband, I was like, even though Christmas is over now, I'm still going to leave every Sunday afternoon and go to the shop and work on something that's just for me and just for fun and not work related. He's like, that's fine. You can do that. So I'm going to keep on doing that and just, feed the creative soul instead of constantly feeding the work sewing queue, because that is always never ending. So have a happy new year, and I would love to see what you guys finish. Make sure to tag us on social media. We're at Quilt Addicts Anonymous in all the places, and I want to know what's on your sewing list for 2023. I think that'll be fun. So leave a comment below and let me know. All right, until next time, happy quilting.